Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do a review since it's the 40th anniversary of this film, The Fog. This movie came out on February 8th of 1980. This was John Carpenter's follow-up to Halloween. Him and Deborah Hill wrote the script, and Deborah Hill produced it, and John Carpenter obviously directed it and scored it. Wrote, everything. John Carpenter is kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to films. That's why he's one of my favorite directors of all time, and he's definitely my favorite horror director. Coming off of Halloween, Carpenter didn't want to do another slasher film, so he wanted to do a ghost story. And essentially, that's what The Fog is a ghost story. And in this film, we have Jamie Lee Curtis back, working with Carpenter again. Her mom, Janet Leigh. We have the great Tom Atkins playing Nick Castle. Carpenter named him Nick Castle because Nick Castle was Carpenter's really good friend at the time, and he was also the gentleman who played Michael Myers in the original Halloween movie. And he also went on to direct The Last Starfighter, if you've ever seen that movie. And he made an appearance as Michael Myers in the 2018 Halloween movie. We also have Adrienne Barbeau, who was married to John Carpenter at the time, playing Stevie Wayne. We have Nancy Keys. She played Annie in Halloween. And she was also, Tommy Lee Wallace was the production designer on Halloween, and he was also the production designer and editor on The Fog. They were married at the time. And Carpenter likes to use the same people over and over again. A lot of his films, you'll see a lot of the same actors popping up. You also got Charles Cyphers, who is Sheriff Brackett in Halloween, back in this movie as a weatherman. We got the great Hal Holbrook as Father Malone, John Houseman in this movie. This movie has a lot of really good actors. This movie is set in California. It was filmed up in Point Reyes Lighthouse up in California, up by Bodega Bay. Coincidentally, that's exactly where Hitchcock filmed The Birds, if you've ever seen that film. Now, with this movie, Carpenter had an increase in budget, because in Halloween, he had a $300,000 budget. This film, he had $1 million, which to Carpenter at the time, coming off of Assault on Precinct 3 and Halloween, that was a lot of money back then. It wasn't a big budget, but it was a lot of money, and more than Carpenter was used to having on a film. And he wanted to do it, had a ghost story, and he based it off of a real story that happened off of Goleta, California, where basically these townspeople con these people to bring their ships in closer than they should have. It's at nighttime, and they crash their ships on a rock, and they come out and they pillage their gold, and the people on the ship die. They drown. That's basically the setup for this movie. Although we don't know that at first. The establishing shot of the movie is this town. Beautiful shots. Dean Cundy shot the movie along with Carpenter's direction. And I always loved how Carpenter's shots just flowed. They're beautiful. Every film Carpenter's ever made is just beautiful to look at, especially the earlier ones, especially with Dean Cundy's lighting. And the town starts going nuts. Car horns start going off. Gas pumps start pumping gas, And that kind of signals the ghosts are coming back because they want revenge on the town for what they did to him so long ago. And actually, Carpenter makes an appearance in this film. Father Malone, played by Hal Holbrook, has a person helping at the church clean up. His name is Bennett. And he has a small role. That's John Carpenter as Bennett. And he asked the father if he can get paid. And Father Malone says, why don't you come in tomorrow at a certain time? And he kind of leaves it at that, and he leaves. That's actually John Carpenter. It's the only time he's ever been in one of his movies besides Body Bags, which was a TV movie for Showtime in the early 90s. It's the only two times Carpenter's ever really been on screen in his own movies. And all of a sudden, Stevie Wayne, Adrienne Barbeau's character, owns a lighthouse where she has a radio station from. Her and her son had just moved to this town not too long ago. And we get word that there's this boat out in the water, and we see these guys are out in their fishing boat and they're just drinking, and they see this fog coming in, and they end up getting killed by these ghosts in the fog. And it's creepy. It's beautifully shot, nice composition. I actually really think this movie's a beautiful movie to look at. It's very well shot. Daytime shots, nighttime shots, the way they pulled off the fog. Considering it was 1980 and they only had $1 million, they did a lot with what they had, which is Carpenter's always been good with that. He does a lot with so little. That's why his movies endured to this day. And then we start finding out about Father Malone finds this diary and this gold cross, and he finds out what the townspeople had done, and they're about to celebrate their anniversary in this town. This big thing's planned by Janet Leigh's character, and this town celebration, it's like their centennial. And he finds out what actually happened, and he's trying to tell her that they shouldn't be celebrating anything. They killed people and took their money, and it's nothing to be celebrated. And she's kind of blowing it off. She's like, "Oh, it's in the past. We got to be proud of the town, this and that." And as the movie goes forward, some other Charles Cyphers gets killed at his weather station, and the fog comes in and takes over the town. And Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis' character, who he meets one night, team up, and they get all these people that are left, and they go to the church. And at the right end of the movie, Father Malone gives back the ghosts. They're in the chapel, and he gives them back the gold cross. And the fog goes away, and the ghosts are gone. And we think that's the end of the movie. One point of fact, the ghost with the red glowing eyes, the main ghost in the church, which comes back at the end to kill Father Malone, because after everybody leaves and everybody thinks everything's fine, Father Malone goes back out in the chapel, and he turns around, and the ghosts are back, and the one Blake kills him with the sword. We don't see it, but you see him coming down with the sword, and it cuts to blackness at the end of the movie. That ghost by Blake was played by Rob Bottin. He did the special makeup effects or any little effects in this movie, like the gross skeletons and all that stuff that are ghosts. He did the effects. He's also the one who went on to do John Carpenter's The Thing, and he actually was one of the biggest makeup effects guys of all time, one of the best, in fact. But he played Blake in the movie. This movie's beautifully shot, but when Carpenter first screened it, after they put their first edit together, he wasn't satisfied with the movie. He didn't like the music, and he thought it was too slow, there wasn't enough scares. Carpenter actually went back and reshot, he says, between 30 and 40% of the movie after that, and then re-edited it into what we have now. I've seen interviews with him about it, and there's special features on the Blu-ray about it, and he even says how he wasn't happy with the movie, and he thinks they did all right when they went back and reshot. He's still not, I don't think he's entirely satisfied with the movie, but he knows they did the best they could, considering they were in a tough spot. And I love the movie. I think it's a classic. I really like it. Is it my favorite John Carpenter movie? No. That goes to The Thing, and Halloween would be my 1 and 2. The Thing first, Halloween second. But he's made so many great films, especially in the 80s. But this is one of my favorites of his. It honestly isn't. It has a lot of rewatchability. It's a beautiful film to look at. The characters are great. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis in the movie, she doesn't have a whole lot to do but tag along with Tom Atkins. Tom Atkins is great in the movie. Janet Leigh's great. The actors do fine. All really good stuff. Carpenter's direction is on point. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. Stay away from the remake from 2005, I think. That remake sucks so bad. There's some good actors in it, but the movie's, it's a piece of shit. Unfortunately, they decided to do a lot of crappy CGI in that movie, and it's a Carpenter film they remade with a director who cannot direct nowhere near as good as Carpenter, so you can't help but compare it. And it just looks like shit, and it's just a terrible movie all around. So avoid that at all costs. If you're interested, watch the original movie. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere now. I know Scream Factory has a Blu-ray out. I think it's still available on Amazon, but I know you probably can get it on Amazon Prime. I don't think it's on Netflix, but it's out there. You can find it. I highly recommend it. I would give The Fog 9 out of 10. I really like it that much. I know it's not perfect, and there's some problems, but I just really like it. So 9 out of 10 for me for The Fog. It's on its 40th anniversary today. That's it for me. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll be back soon. Thanks. See you.